Is my PPT visible, ma'am?
Yes, the screen is visible.
Should
Yes,
I start now?
Yes.
Okay. So before we begin, let me ask something to our dear participants today. So my first question would be, do you think companies exist only to earn profit, or do they have responsibility towards the society? Anyone? Do you think that companies have responsibility towards society?
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely, yes. So would you trust a company that is profitable but unethical? Surely not. So why do some companies survive for decades while others collapse despite making profits? The answer is simple. Social impact, governance, ethics, inclusion, and leadership are topic of today. We are going to understand this responsible business practices, which is answer to all my questions I have asked about. So today's topic focuses on how businesses can be responsible while being successful. In the modern era, companies are not evaluated on the financial performance anymore, but they are on how they impact on society and environment. Concepts like ethics, inclusion, governance, they are becoming central to the business strategy these days. No company, no business can survive without it. For example, Tata Group. It is globally respected, not just for profits, but for its strong ethical values and social contribution. So, this session will help you all understand how responsible businesses are developed. So, this is the overview of my presentation. In this session, I will cover 5 important areas: social impact, governance, ethics, inclusion, and leadership. These are not separate concepts, but they are deeply interconnected. A company with strong governance will naturally follow ethical practices and create positive social impact. Similarly, leadership also plays a crucial role in ensuring all these elements, and if they are implemented effectively, everything works. So, by the end, you will see how these factors create sustainable organizations altogether. So, we'll quickly start with our first component, that is social impact. So, social impact is basically how business activities affect people and society. Simple. It includes economic development, environmental protection, social well being. Today's companies are expected to contribute positively and not just avoid harm. For instance, ITC Limited. ITC Limited, through its e-Chopal initiative, you must have heard, it has empowered rural farmers, improving their income and access to markets. This shows that how business success and social welfare are going all together. This shows how business success is the main criteria of any business. So next, we are going to talk about governance. So governance is a system by which companies are directed and controlled. It is the accountability, transparency, and ethical decision making. Good governance protects the interest of its stakeholders. What is stakeholders? All the investors, employees, customers, any party that is having interest in that organization is called stakeholder. And good governance is for all the stakeholders. For example, Infosys. Infosys is known for its strong corporate governance, which has helped it maintain investor confidence over time. Without governance, organization can easily fall prey to its unethical practices. So, coming to the link between social impact and governance, we have talked about social impact, we have talked about governance, how these are interlinked. Governance and social impact are closely interlinked as they together create responsible actions. When companies follow proper rules and transparency, they are more likely to impact positive social outcomes in an economy. It also aligns profit making with a purpose. Every profit making comes with a purpose, which is essential in today's business environment. Investors now prefer companies with strong ESG. Here comes the ESG. E stands for environmental, S comes from social, and G comes from governance that we have discussed in our previous sessions as well. So, showing how governance directly impacts the long time success. Then the next component is about ethics. Ethics, we all know, it is the moral principles that guide our behavior, that guide our decision making in business. Ethics determine how companies treat customers, how they treat their employees, how they treat society. It is about doing the right even when it is not legally required. Now, some things are mandatory. CSR, corporate social responsibility, has come mandatory these days in the annual report disclosures. But there are some things which are not legally mandatory, but they are the right things that must be pursued. So, ethical companies build trust and long term relationships. For example, honest advertising, fair pricing. These are simple but powerful ethical practices that attracts and influence the customer loyalty. So ethics is the cornerstone for any business. It is important because it builds trust, it enhances reputation, and it reduces legal risks in future. Companies that follow legal ethical practices attract loyal customers and investors. On the other hand, unethical behavior can lead to scandals, can lead to scams, can lead to financial losses. Many companies in India have faced backlash due to misleading advertisements showing how ethics directly affect the business success. So, talking about ethics in little detail, we have few principles of ethics. First is integrity. Integrity, transparency, accountability, and fairness. These are the basic four principles of ethics. Now, integrity means being honest, transparency means being open, and accountability means taking the responsibility, and fairness ensures equal treatment. These principles guide organization in making responsible decisions. For example, transparent financial reporting. If you give clear information in your annual reports about your financial information, that will build trust for your investors. That will build trust for your customers. So this is the core of ethics. Now, there are some ethical theories as well. The first is utilitarianism. Utilitarianism focuses on the greatest good for the greatest number. When we are not focusing on few people, but when we are focusing on the all the people that we are impacting, the greatest number of people. While right-based ethics protect only individual rights, justice emphasizes fairness, and virtual ethics focus on moral character. For example, companies shifting to eco-friendly packaging. Now, all the companies these days are going for paper bags instead of plastic ones. So they are focusing on utilitarian ethics because they are benefiting the whole society. When we are benefiting the whole society, we are impacting the greatest number of people. So when we are talking about only our customers, only our investors, that is right based. We can follow justice and virtual ethics also, but utilitarianism will focus on the greatest good for all of the people that are linked to our business. So this is the theories that we have to keep in mind. Then there comes a concept of ethical decision making. Ethical decision making involves we have to follow a complete process. It is not just one day task or we can do it once at a time. We have to follow a complete process and keep implementing those things in our business. So it starts with identifying the ethical issue. What are the issues that our company is facing? Then gathering the facts about it, evaluating the alternatives, the simple decision making process that we follow in management. That is the same process. So evaluating the alternatives, then choosing the best option, and then reviewing the outcomes. Because if we are taking one decision, it may have several options for us. We have to select the best option. So this structured approach ensures responsible decisions. For example, before launching a product, companies must ensure, is it safe? Is it safe for the customers? Is it safe for the environment? So we'll be having different alternatives that we can just have a simple replacements and we can make it safe for our customers. We can make safe for the environment. So with this simple alternative selection and choosing the best option, we can make it ethical. Then comes the code of ethics. A code of ethics is a formal document. Every company is having this code of ethics. They outline that what is an acceptable behavior and what is not acceptable, because everything cannot be implied. We have to give a explicit statement to these ethics. So because employee is not sometimes knowing that what is right or what is wrong. So he must have an outline, he must have a brochure, he must have a guideline that what is acceptable in his organization and what is understood as misconduct. So most of the large companies like Reliance Industries, they have well-defined ethical codes. This is called ethical code. They have an outline of a document that what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, what is discipline, what is not discipline, what is consistency, what is not a consistency for their particular organization. So every company should have this code of ethics. So concluding about the ethics, we have some common ethical issues in business and organizations. We have frauds, we have corruptions, we have insider trading. Insider trading is when some insider information is given to the outside person, that is leakage of the internal information. We have data privacy. Data is a huge valuable asset for organization these days. So leaking out any sort of data, privacy issues, privacy violations, that clearly hampers to the reputation, and that also may result in the legal penalties. So a famous example here would be Satyam Computer Services. I'm sure you have all heard about the Satyam Computer Services fraud case that has completely shook the investor confidence. So this highlights the importance of ethical governance. So now I am going to list two elements. We have studied ethics, we have studied governance. So I am going to now link how ethics is useful in governance, because ethics strengthens the transparency and accountability. In governance, we have studied it is important for transparency and accountability, and ethics are moral principles. So moral principles are now attaching to this and making it transparent, more accountable, and more transparent. So it reduces the risks and builds the trust among shareholders. If we are having good ethics, we will surely have good governance. So both the components are interlinked. So ethical governance helps organizations maintain a long-term stability and reputation. Companies that integrate ethics into governance are more sustainable. They will survive long-term. They will build trust. They will have good stream of customers and employees with them. They will have loyal employees, loyal customers. So here comes a conclusion to an ethical failure case. I'll share this case with you. When companies manipulate data or they hide information, it clearly leads to the loss of trust and severe consequences. They also result in legal penalties and brand damage. These all ethical cases, like I have mentioned about Satyam, there were many more. So they remind us we may have short-term gains. We have Ketan Parakh case, we have Harshit Mehta case. They have gone for short-term gains, but ultimately they were unethical and they have faced the legal consequences as well. So it is all about promoting ethics, because when nobody is watching, even the nicest and kindest person would do something which is of their individual interest and not of the organization. So we have to promote this. Organizations can promote ethics. Not every individual is ethics. It has to be inculcated in our employees. It has to be given to them. We have to train them that they have to follow the ethics. We can do this through training. We can do this through leadership example. We can do this through clear policies, and also we can have whistleblower protection. Now, what is whistleblower? Whistleblower is a person who stands up and raises his voice against something which is not going right in his organization, maybe gender discrimination or maybe inequality on any basis. The person who raises his voice is called whistleblower. And sometimes that whistleblower person faces further problematic situations, that why have you raised your voice? Because he's the odd one out. So we have to protect that person. We have to set an example that it is completely okay. Raise your voice if you feel something is not going right in the organization. So these are some policies that we can adapt in our organization to promote ethics. We can ensure transparent channels. We can have some anonymous reporting channels. We can have some, like we used to have that anonymous suggestion box in our organization, something like that, some email ID where you can send your queries or something which is not going right. So any way that can promote ethics in an organization would be an asset for it. So now I will come up to our next component quickly, which is inclusion. Now, inclusion is a little different from the previous components. It is about where everyone feels valued, where everyone has equal opportunities. It goes beyond diversity. It focuses on participation. It focuses on respect. When any employee or any customer comes to you, he's part of your organization, you should respect his opinion, whether it is different from yours. So inclusive workplace ensures collaboration, because through this only we can have innovative and different perspectives. If we will think that over only our perspective is right, it will go nowhere. But if we will incorporate different perspectives from different genders, from different religions, from different castes, that will give us a complete basket of opinions. So inclusion is also very important for our organization. It is important for employee engagement, because all the employees are from diverse backgrounds. So we must respect their opinions. It is important for productivity. It is important for innovation, because we will get different innovation, different perspectives, and that diverse teams will definitely perform better because they will have varied ideas and varied experiences. Everyone has something different to offer to an organization. So companies that promote inclusion, they have better workplace culture and high employee satisfaction. Talking about the dimensions, we can have different genders, gender diversity. We can have different cultures in our organization. We can have different age groups. Age groups is now these so much trending, because we are having Gen Z entering into our corporate culture. Earlier, we have some baby boomers and millennials and Gen Y only. But nowadays, this Gen Z is entering, and they are completely different people, and they are giving different perspectives. They are giving so much of innovative ideas. But if we are so much orthodox and we are so much rigid that we will not incorporate their ideas, we're definitely going to lose. And we also have disability inclusion. Disability is not something that someone cannot work. So we should include their perspectives as well. We should not treat them there as they are someone less than us. So diversity versus inclusion is an important concept that must be incorporated, because diversity refers to representation. Inclusion means active participation. We have to simply hire diverse employees, and simply hiring is not enough. They must also be given equal opportunities. We must have diverse workforce, but we should give them equal opportunities to contribute. So both diversity and inclusion, both are essential. These both are different terms. We must have diverse workforce, and we must include them in our decision-making process. We have given the concept of management by objectives by Peter Drucker. That is such an old concept, and that is still prevalent today, because management by objective stands that when we are including the opinions of our employees. So now we have included the opinions of all the diverse workforce in our organizations. So till now, I think it is very clear that inclusion will definitely give us creativity. It will definitely give us better decision making, employee satisfaction, and improved performance. So it will definitely give us the people they will feel respected, and we will have diverse teams which we've been able to innovate faster and compete globally due to inclusive thinking. But there are some challenges. It is not so easily done than it is said, because we always have several challenges. We have some unconscious biases in our mind. We have the discrimination. This work will be definitely done better by men. We have this unconscious bias in our mind. So we will give this is an outgoing, this is marketing task. We will give this task to a male person, male employee rather than female employee. We have this kind of unconscious biases in our mind. So most employees not even realize that they are not giving inclusive decision making. So if leadership is not supportive, now here comes the role of our next component, leadership. If leadership is not supportive, inclusion will definitely fail. For example, gender bias, that is the big concern in hiring or promotions even. It is a still concern in many sectors. So overcoming these challenges requires awareness, training, and leadership. So these are some inclusive policies. We should give equal opportunity to all the employees. We should have anti-discriminatory policies. We should have flexible working hours, because we know that there are different phases in a woman's life. So we should have flexible working hours in our workplace. We should have accessibility support, that if there is somebody who is differently able, so we should give him fair work environment, which will definitely enhance loyalty and performance. So here comes the role of HR here. So HR has to introduce some training programs. HR has to give inclusive recruitment, because recruitment is the first step, and then policy in reinforcement. Or if there is any sort of conflict, then HR has to act as a backbone in being fair and respectful workplace and promote diversity training. So here I would like to include a case on inclusions. Organizations that include actively promote inclusion, they often experience positive outcomes. For example, companies that hire people from diverse backgrounds, they provide equal growth opportunities to perform better. Inclusion programs, many companies these days are starting up inclusion programs, that is mentorship for women, support groups for differently abled people. Many organizations are also improving organizational culture so that different age groups can feel comfortable. So these are some of the cases in the companies that are promoting inclusion and inclusive culture. So these are the four things that is the most essential: leadership, communication, respect, and continuous learning. So inclusion is not a one-time initiative that, yes, we have done inclusion today. No, it is not one-time initiative. It is a continuous process. Organizations that celebrate cultural diversity through events. You can have different events relating to different cultures. You can celebrate all festivals relating to all religions. So we have to create a positive work environment. So people from different religions, different cultures, different races, they feel part of the organizations that, yes, we are also being valued here. Only this positive mindset can create a real mental revolution that F.W. Taylor has talked about in scientific management. This is the mental revolution that he was talking about. So, till now, I think we are done with our first three components. So, before starting the meaning of our next component, that is leadership, I would like to ask, am I clear till now? Anything that you want to ask? Or should I continue?
I think you should continue. At the end, we will have the open forum.
Sure, thank you, ma'am. So I'm going to talk about our next component now, that is leadership. So we are all well aware what is leadership. Leadership is how to influence, guide, and motivate others towards achieving organizational goals. A good leader not only directs, but he also inspires the team to perform better. Leadership is essential in shaping the vision and direction of an organization. In today's dynamic environment, leaders must be adaptable and they must be capable of handling challenges. Management and leadership is not just following the format. It is you are going to face a completely different scenario every day and you should manage it properly. That is the real leadership. So, leadership is about providing direction, building vision, ensuring effective execution of strategies. A strong leader motivates employees. He encourages teamwork. He sets an example by doing the things himself and drives the organizational success. Without effective leadership, even well planned strategy, the complete governance, the perfect ethics, they will fail because leadership is the one binding force. Like it is the cement that is going to connect every element. So, for example, during crisis in COVID-19, strong leadership in organizations helped manage uncertainty and manage the operations. And the organizations which were in panicky situation, which are in anxiety, and the leaders were not strong enough, such organizations collapsed because leadership was not there. So now I'm going to connect ethics with leadership. What is ethical leadership? One who leads with integrity. Now, leader has to be ethical. Only then ethics can be promoted in an organization. If leader is unethical, how ethics can be promoted in an organization? So, leader has to act with integrity. He has to act with fairness. He has to act with transparency. Only ethical leaders can act as a role model and influence employees to follow ethical practices. This ensures that decisions are made responsibly and in the best interest of stakeholders. Because ultimately, we are responsible to our stakeholders, the persons having interest in our organizations. The stakeholders are our real customers, employees, everyone who is having interest. It may be government, it may be publics, it may be media. Everyone is stakeholder. So we have to be fair to them. So a well-known example here I would mention is Ratan Tata. We all know him. and not only for his success. We all know him because he's so much ethical. He's an ethical leader. He has established the definition of responsible business practices. So now I'm going to connect inclusion with leadership. What is inclusive leadership? Inclusive leadership is when a leader values diversity. He encourages participation from all employees. He is interested in celebrating all kind of religions, all kind of cultures. He is the person who creates an environment where everyone feels respected and heard. So he is the person who is going to remove all the barriers and promote equality. So this is the type of leadership which is required. A leadership which builds trust. So a leadership which is ethical, a leadership which is inclusive. So we have different kinds of leadership. We have transformational, transactional, democratic, and autocratic. So these are the different styles. What is transformational leadership? Transformation, the word stands for a complete change. Transformation. So he inspires, he motivates, he helps achieve in higher goals. While transactional leaders, they are only related to the transaction. Transaction here stands for profit, performance, achievement. When the leadership is only about profit, performance, and reward, it is transactional. When the leadership is about inspiration and motivation and higher goals, it is transformational. Okay. So, democratic leaders. What is democratic leaders? Democratic leaders involves everyone in, like India is a democratic country. Here, everyone is involved in decision making through voting system. Likewise, when leader involves everyone in decision making, it is democratic. When the leader does not involve anyone, he is independently taking the decisions. That is autocratic. So obviously, autocratic is not good. Democratic is definitely far way better. And if we can move to the transformational level after transactional, this is the hierarchical level. First, we will go on transactional, then we will move to transformation. And if we can reach that transformational level of leadership, it will be wonder for an organization. So what are the qualities of leader? Till now, we must have understood that he should be full of ethics. He should include inclusivity. He should be having integrity, good communication skills, good empathy, good accountability. So leaders with these qualities are perfect in managing teams by setting examples and achieving organizational goals. So now I'm going to connect leadership with one more element, that is leadership and governance. So we have studied governance. So now leadership is also playing a good role in governance. Leaders are responsible for implementing policies. In governance, what we studied? We studied about policies, we studied about transparency, we studied about accountability. Now this policies, transparency, accountability, who is going to ensure this? A leader. A leader is going to ensure, he is going to set a tone for a behavior. He is going to have that function that is effective in its implementation. He is going to protect the interest. So he is going to ensure all the compliances and he is going to make it accountable and transparent. So leadership is very much interconnected with governance. Only leader, a good ethical leader, can have a good governance system in his organization. So now I'm going to connect leadership with our first component, social impact. So leaders are going to make this social impact through corporate social responsibility. I have mentioned about corporate social responsibility earlier also. CSR activities is what a corporate is doing for society. And this has become mandatory. No company can survive today without CSR initiative because every company has to disclose, mandatory disclosure in annual report that what you have done for CSR activities, whether you have done something for environment, something for women empowerment, something for pollution curb, anything that you have contributed for the society, you have to mention it in your annual report. And a good leader is so much focused about it. He's definitely concerned about it, that how to mention and what to mention it at. So this is that how organizations contribute to the society. For example, many companies are doing education initiatives, they are doing rural development, they are doing healthcare under CSR. We have so many areas to cover. So an effective leader is a person who initiates the meaningful and lasting impact that a society can have out of his business. So a successful leader combines ethical values. We have studied that leadership is connected to every element. It is into ethical values, it is into inclusive practices. So a leader is one who is going to perform better and manage a positive reputation of a company through his example setting or better curriculum development. So how a leader can be developed. We have discussed how ethics can be promoted, how governance can be developed. So how leader can be developed? He can be developed through training. Or it is not just an inborn quality. Nobody is born as a leader. It is developed. It is developed through training, experience, and mentorship and continuous learning. So, for being an effective leader, you have to be in training programs and leadership skills. There are so many leadership programs being held every year by IIMs in our country. So, leadership is a skill that has to be imbibed, that has to be learned. So now I'm going to combine everything. I'm going to talk about the integration. We have discussed about ethics. We have discussed about inclusion. We have discussed about leadership, and everything is interconnected because it must work together for success. Ethics guide behavior, inclusion builds strong culture, and leadership drives implementation. All the implementation is done by the leader. So when these elements are integrated, organizations become more sustainable and they become more successful. So this combination is required, that will give an organization a competitive edge. So Michael Porter has discussed about the competitiveness model in his theories. So what is competitiveness is when you are doing something extra than your competitor. That is your competitive edge. So this combination of all these elements, ethics, social impact, governance, and leadership, this combination is going to give you a competitive edge. I've discussed about CSR, but I'll give it a brief again. That includes environmental protection, social welfare, and ethical practices. And it is mandatory for the companies to, according to Companies Act, to have CSR activities, to have something that contributes to the society. And this combination of ethics, governance, and leadership is definitely going to answer this problem also. So this integration was very much attractive. Every company would like to have this integration, but there are some challenges. Organizations face some challenges in implementing this combo of ethics, inclusion, and CSR because there are cost issues. Obviously, when you will do something for society, you will go an extra mile to give governance a better edge, to give social impact a better edge, to have better leaders. You will definitely have to spend more. So there will be cost issues, and also there may be resistance because people are doing work in a particular way. So if you will introduce a change, there will be a resistance to change. That is human nature. And also there will be lack of awareness. Nobody is so much aware. Today we are having these kinds of workshops. This council is having this platform and initiative to develop awareness, but this has to reach everyone. There is a issue of awareness. Not everyone is aware in organizations and corporate culture about the value of ethics, inclusion, and leadership. So these kinds of sessions and awareness programs are very essential to reach every place. And also, if we have implemented all these, there is the enforcement this week. We'll do this for 1 week, we'll do this for 2 weeks, but then third week there may be some lacks in the implementation. So this has to be continuous. Even when some simple habit is developed in our day-to-day life, it takes time. So organizations need to take time for enforcement and have a strong leadership and long-term vision. So I'll conclude with these future trends: ESG, environmental, social, and governance practices. Digital ethics, we are having now digital ethics, how to behave online, how to be conscious when we are using AI tools. That are also ethics because AI is overloading us with the information, every kind of information, what to use, how to use, and giving the due acknowledgement from the sources that we are using so that we do not fall prey to the plagiarism. So these are also ethics, and that can definitely give us inclusive workforce and sustainable leadership. So investors and consumers are increasingly demanding responsible behavior from companies. They have never asked, but they implied expectation is there. We have to give them. So organizations that fail to adapt to these coming trends, they will definitely lose the competitiveness in the long run. So to conclude, ethics ensure fairness, inclusion builds organizational strength, and leadership drives the success. And together they create sustainable and responsible businesses. So in today's world, companies cannot succeed only by focusing on profits. Profit is not only a earlier in financial management, we used to study that wealth maximization, the objective. No, no, not anymore. Profit and wealth maximization is not anymore the final objective. We have to work on these latest trends. Then we must also focus on people and planet. We have to combine all the 3 R's of environmental saving. The future belongs to organizations that are ethical, that are inclusive, that are socially responsible. So, if I'll end with a question, if you were a CEO of any organization, would you prioritize profits or ethics? We should have both because we cannot sacrifice profits. And without ethics, our profits will be only short lived. We will not be sustainable. We will not be long lived. So, can a company succeed in the long run without inclusion and good governance? I think after attending the session and after listening to the importance of leadership and governance, our answer is completely and clearly no, that without inclusion and without good governance, we are definitely not going to succeed in long run. So, if you are future leader, we are having so many future leaders among us. You are going to be a future leader. Will you be only successful or responsible as well? I think responsible as well after today's session, definitely, because future belongs to the organization that are not just profitable, but responsible, inclusive, and ethical. So that's all for my side. Thank you so much. So any questions from your side? Anybody?
Dr. Dilpreet, could you please stop sharing? Then we will have the open forum.
Sure,
And
ma'am.
I must appreciate that you have covered all the topics quite meaningfully. Thank you so
Thank-
much for
Thank you, ma'am.
this insightful session. Anyone wants to share anything, any feedback, or want to ask anything, any query? I think you have explained everything quite well. So
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I hope people attending to this session and who will be watching the YouTube session will be greatly benefited through the explanation. So as you have touched all the points quite meaningfully. So
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really wonderful sharing my views here, and this is going to be really great platform, and we are going to have very insightful workshops in future.
yes,
Exciting.
looking forward for
Mm.
that actually.